Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Guess what today is? If you've listened to the show, you know what I'm about to say. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. And I want you to understand something, that some people didn't get that chance. Some people transitioned, and it wasn't by their will. They weren't ready. So, make every moment count. And while you're doing that, please share the podcast, The Billionaire Lifestyle with Emmett Muckles, with all your friends. As a matter of fact, I want you to do this. I want you to go to your grandma's house and pull out her phone and look, Ma, I want to share something with you, and literally put her fingers on the podcast player. Do that with your grandfather and work your way through the family so everybody knows they are a billionaire. Moving on. Today, my guest is Leslie August. Now, here's what we're going to do. She came on the show because she really wants to eradicate workplace bullying. But we're going to diverge somewhere down the line, and we're going to find a fork in the river, and we're just going to do that too, because you know how I roll. What's up, Leslie?
Hey, Emmett. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about a topic that's really important to me, workplace bullying.
Now, I want to go down this road first. You're a beautiful white woman. And when everyone sees a beautiful white woman, the last thing they're going to think about is workplace bullying with her. So how did this come to manifest in your life?
It came to manifest a couple different ways, all in the same container. I was a partner in a company, and I discovered that we had an instance of severe workplace bullying going on. I was not physically located in the office, so I wasn't aware what was happening. And I was later brought in to remove or figure out how to solve the problem of dealing with this particular workplace bully, who was also an attractive white woman. And she had an enabler, a white man who was in power. And so I got involved from the perspective initially of eradicating it from my own office environment.
Yeah.
And secondarily, I became a target of the board of directors because I wanted this to be a permanent change from the top down. And we didn't see eye to eye, so they bullied me out.
So, this is, and let me backtrack. I don't mean to make it a racial thing, but we're living in a time of perception where personal perceptions are manifested into these real entities. And from my perspective and from where I've came from, you look at the other side of the fence and go, their life is great. Their life is perfect. Why are they complaining? But as human beings, we all deal with this breadth of emotions that can be forced upon us or that just sometimes just happens. It's just circumstantial. So dealing with that, what were you able to take from that, and how were you able to continue this and make it your mission?
I lost so much through that process. At the end of the day, I lost my position, my income, my relationships with certain people who were important to me at the time. And I did it because there's something in me that needed to protect people who were less powerful than others. Yeah. I have no tolerance for the exploitation of people who are less powerful. And that's really what was going on. In this case, it wasn't a racial thing. But I do believe that in many circumstances of workplace bullying, there are a lot of instances where it is racially driven.
I was a target of workplace bullying, and it was weird because I could do nothing. Because if I would have and it was from a man, if I would have reacted like I wanted to react, I would have been the villain. Because they were like, why did you pick on that guy? It's like, you guys didn't see all this. It wasn't, I can't even say they were microaggressions because the intent behind them were very real. And I think, and it's funny because this guy keeps popping up in my life.
Oh no.
But through the grace of the spirits above, I keep him at more than an arm's length. But you deal with these things, and I always say a prayer for someone who is out for me. I ask for the best for them. And usually, and this has happened several times in my life, the things that they had were placed in my lap, and though they were taken away. And it wasn't my doing, it was just how life works out. But during this time, because you were an acting CEO, right?
Yes, I became the acting CEO as a result of one of the bullies being put on suspension.
So you're making a good paycheck too, right?
Right.
So were you a major contributor to your family's income at the time?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So how did this affect your family coming in, because I can understand I did something extremely wrong and they fired me or they let me go. But you were having conflict of moral situation. How did you pose that to your family, and what was the outcome of that?
Interesting question, because the truth of the matter is that when I was bullied out and I lost my income, for instance, in a way it was there was an aspect of it that was a relief, because I had spent about a year and a half living away from my home where my family is. And I relocated temporarily to help assist with this problem. And I was away most of the time.
Yeah.
I was away most of the time, and I was under tremendous stress, as you can imagine.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. And so they were, in a way, almost relieved when it ended, even though it ended in a way that affected everybody. But we all banded together and just said, we're just going to have to figure this out. And I'm a person of faith, and I looked above and I said, we need some help here, and help came. Things worked out within our family, and we cut back on certain things. But I got to tell you, I do not regret, even though my whole financial picture has changed dramatically in a short period of time, and I do not believe it's long term, I would do it over again.
So when did this occur?
This just occurred it ended. In other words, I was completely released at the end of January of this year.
And then COVID happens.
And that, right.
So you were going to have some time off anyway. It's just, there was a divine intervention for you, because I understand how stressful it can be. But, we all go through this. I've been through it myself. I constantly struggle with it because of the humble backgrounds that I have witnessed in my own life. And my family has not had to deal with any of the things that I had to deal with throughout my lifetime. But, when is it worth it to really compromise one's family security? Because that's what's in the back of your mind. I know the answer to this, but I want to get your take on it.
I think that's a very individual question, because I don't judge other people for how they would have handled or how they handle a situation when their family security is at stake.
Yeah.
I think, you have to look inside and see what's the right thing to do in the situation. I will say I'm fortunate in that I'm a planner and a saver, and I was able to transition to something that was way more dramatic financially than I anticipated because of COVID. And I was able to do it without suffering and without my family suffering.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's the right thing for everybody else.
So why did you think it was worth it to really lose, this, your status? Because, as Americans,
right,
when someone says, what do? You talk about what your job function is, what your occupation is. Versus when I'm in Europe and I ask someone what they do, what do you do? Oh, I'm a soccer player. You make money
right.
doing soccer? No, you asked me what I do. You didn't ask me what my occupation was. So, you kind of lose more than just a paycheck. You lose your status. You lose how people view you. Mm-hmm. So why did you think that it was, when does it become worth that for you? Or why did you think that?
For me, it was all about, I can't look people in the eye and be their boss or their superior or the business owner and be okay with mistreatment if it's going on. To me, I've got to do whatever I can.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I know that wouldn't be everybody's answer, but it really affects me if I'm a bystander and I don't take action. To me, that's as bad as being the perpetrator.
Yeah. I understand that. Sometimes, but your hands are tied, and I understand where you're coming from. You really have to have strong convictions, and you also have to have somewhat of a backup plan. But sometimes life will bless you. I've done this myself. I've taken dire moves of faith with nothing in front of me. And as soon as I took that step, the brick unfolded and it was a golden brick right there before me. I was like, and you would not see it coming. You can't anticipate it. Sometimes you get to a stressful point in your life where it starts to compromise your sanity and your health, and you take that step and a new path is revealed. But during this impact, COVID hit. Mm-hmm. How did that impact all of your decisions in the last, I'd say 9 months?
Well, so, you can never know what's going to happen, of course. So my plan included when I made a decision that I was going to walk away at the end of January, and I was not going to take a severance package that was being offered because it was asking me to give up too much. And so I walked away without that, knowing that I had another source of income from the organization that was related to my ownership. Okay, so I didn't just walk away thinking, oh, I got, nothing's coming in, but I got to do it anyway. I knew that I was going to have this distribution income, let's call it. Well, P.S., COVID hit. The company was severely affected by COVID to the extent of a loss of like 75% of their revenue, and no distributions.
Yeah, but that potentially could be temporary. Correct? If everything rebounds, then you're back on track. Or am I
Yeah, it could. I mean, theoretically, it could be, but in this particular situation, I think it's not going to come back fast because of the nature of the business. So to speak to your question, then I was as I said, I was out there in the skinny branches. I made the decision. I couldn't go back. And now I really was down to nothing, and I had to figure out how to make it work.
Through all this, though, where did you find counsel? Where did you find inspiration? Where did you throw your ideas to see if they were valid, or did you?
Yeah, I did. Well, my partner, my husband, was very supportive through all this. My son, adult son, was very and is very supportive through all this. So the two of them, we all live together. And then I went and I got a couple of coaches that weren't just pure business coaches. They were more like life coaches. And I used them to bounce ideas off of and to help me navigate the path to what was going to be next. Because I didn't know right away that I was going to want to be involved in the anti-workplace bullying movement. I was trying other business ideas. I was going to buy a franchise, and I was going to start and then I thought, well, this other business had a good idea for a business in the real estate industry. And I tried each of those on, and I know what it takes to start and run a business. And I could just feel that what I needed to sustain it wasn't quite there. And I kept getting pulled back to this idea that there has to be a change in corporate culture.
Yeah. I'm seeing it myself. I am seriously seeing it myself.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm seeing a total revamp. And I think as part of the organizations that I belong with, they are structured a little bit differently than 20th century companies. You know, I work with a lot of women-owned companies, mm-hmm. and they have a different mindset, and they are empathetic to what's happening in the world.
Yeah.
The ones that I'm working with, I'm not saying that everybody's like that, but just
right.
The ones that I'm seeing, they're running the companies a little different, which I commend them, because that's one of the things that I was going down the path understanding. When the Me Too movement came out, I saw some things that were happening in the world where it seems like women wanted the equal rights, but they wanted to be men. They were reacting in masculine ways. You
right.
understand what I'm saying? Versus bringing the energy that we really need, which is the feminine, the authentic feminine energy in all its various forms to the table. But I'm starting to see that now. So what role does planning and preparation play in making such a significant shift?
Yeah.
Or can you plan for it?
Yeah. I don't think you can really plan for it, but I think I believe just in life that I don't like to live paycheck to paycheck. I made a decision a zillion years ago. I was going to go into the theater. I went to professional acting school. And after a while, I'm like, I can't, this is not working for me.
You're like, I like regular meals.
Yeah. I have no control over my life here. So people have different risk tolerances, I think. I don't have a very high risk tolerance when it comes to financial insecurity. So I was going to do anything I could to have a cushion, and so that plan for a rainy day. And I also believe, this sounds kind of weird, but I believe in insurance.
I do too.
It's a way to transfer risk. So when you think about all the people out here with the wildfires and having insurance so that they can rebuild their homes, that's a way of planning for a horrible, unexpected situation.
So I understand what you're saying, But if you could make it a little clearer, when you refer to insurance for people, what do you mean by that?
I'm talking about now in the traditional commercial insurance. So it could be anything from insuring your home, which mostly is required, or insuring your vehicle, which is mostly required. So you don't really think about that. But long-term care insurance, for instance, there's a way that we sort of ignore what's going to happen when we're older. How are we going to be able to take care of ourselves? What kind of a burden might we be putting on other people if we're not prepared? And maybe we're not going to be a very wealthy person. We're an average income individual, and it takes a lot of money to be able to be taken care of in a humane way when we get older. So one option would be to buy long-term care insurance when you're younger, so you lock in those lower rates, for instance. So that's an example of planning for the future using insurance.
So, the median household income pre-COVID was about $54,000 to $56,000. That's a household. So that could be two or more people living at that level on average. Of course, we have these extremes where people are making six-figure incomes, and then we have the opposite end where there are a lot of people who are only making like $20,000, $30,000. Yeah. How can someone afford when they're scraping by just trying to put food on the table, trying to ensure the later years when they're trying to get to tomorrow? And do you know of any vehicles that are available to people who are on the lower income scale?
I'd have to say that that is a definite inequality. I do not know that those kinds of options are available at that scale. I would say that I think what we do as a society, and what I wish we would do more of, is what used to be much more common, which is multi-generational support, right? Multi-generational support through your faith and religious organizations, and understanding that we have to take care of each other. We have to be looking out for each other and for the older generations in a way so that that's our insurance.
Yeah. I am in favor of that, actually. But this country has a stigma if you're, quote unquote, an adult and you're still living with your parents or at home with your parents. As a matter of fact, I would love nothing more than to buy a $500,000, where I'm at, $500,000 is a lot of house. It's like I got land to probably shoot deer on if I wanted to. But buy a $500,000 house, probably about 5,000 to 7,000 square feet, and have my daughters and my grandkids and all of, and like, look, your portion is like $650 a month. Your portion is $650 a month. Right. That way, I'm looking at the struggles that my children are going through, and and it's hard for them to find the lifestyle that I gave them when they were coming up. Right. And this could possibly be a remedy for many families. So I do agree with you, and then because it was like this when I was a child, everybody was at my grandmother's house. Right. Somebody was always home. So if you had to come home from school, somebody was there.
Somebody was there.
If you had to go to the doctor, no one had to take off work. Somebody took you to the doctor, and they didn't ask for guardianship or nothing. Like, that's my grandma.
Right.
So I agree with you on that. So I want to go back with you, and I want you to go into I want you to think in the emotional states that you're in. So you brought up something earlier about the skinny branches. Mm-hmm. I was on the skinny branches in 2007, 2008. Those skinny branches made me prepare for the future. They turned me from a grasshopper into an ant, if you know the parable. But for you, what was that like?
I would say I'm still out there now, being on the skinny branches. It's, in some ways, it's invigorating, I feel very alive. I feel very in touch with what's happening every day and what I can do every day to make a difference going forward. And sometimes it forces me to remember that there are forces much greater than, much greater than me, that I cannot even envision or imagine, that are in charge. And I have to trust and just put one foot in front of the next, doing the right thing each day.
How are you preparing yourself for the next portion of your journey?
So one of the things that I've come to learn about in this process is the value and the power of creativity. And by that, I mean not just artistic creativity, but mental, psychological, emotional creativity, if you will, where we have, with whatever life experiences we have, with whatever education we have, the ability to develop and mine a lot of wisdom and a lot of new creative ideas, new different ideas. And as long as I'm willing to ask for help, know that I don't have the answers, go to all the resources that are available, be open to the fact that I don't know the answer, but I trust that I can figure it out with help sometimes, with listening, with doing the homework.
So what are you working on now?
Right now, my direction is on the Leslie August Corporation and its mission, which is to help organizations reduce the costs associated with employee complaints, claims, and lawsuits. And that's coming at the workplace bullying problem, looking at it from a practical perspective of a company or an organization that is having expenses, costs, maybe pretty steep ones, that they don't know how to get at the root of.
Yeah. Well, how can people who may want some wisdom, may want some guidance, how can they find you?
My website is probably the easiest way. It's leslieaugust.com, LESLIE, and August like the month, leslieaugust.com. And for your listeners, I'm happy if you want more information, go on my website and just email me from the website or put a contact form in, and I will send you the link to what I call a free gift, which is a free resource that gives you a lot of information, PDFs and worksheets and calculators to look at specific instances of workplace bullying if that's what you're dealing with.
Okay. Well, I really want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast.
Thank you, Emmett. It's my pleasure. Your questions were very thought-provoking, and I appreciated it very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember, you are a billionaire. You are a billionaire. You're a trillionaire. There's numbers that go beyond that don't even begin to encompass you. At your start, 30 days in, when you were just a little zygote and you were starting to split and do this and that, 30 days from your inception, you were comprised of over 1 billion cells, and you only grew from there. You weren't even feet on the planet. You were just hovering between. So I need you to understand that you have power because you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. Faith. We are all this part of energy. That spirit is energy, and it doesn't go away. It just changes form, and you can manipulate it because you can bring those things that you need from the cosmos into your life if you have emotional intent. Good emotional intent, with your heart, with your gut. If you feel it, this is what The Secret was talking about, but they never really made it plainly clear. The reason I know this is because I've experienced it. Those things that I've asked for with deliberate intent that were good for my heart and good for my life and good for the life of others manifested. What I need you to do is to get clear. But first, sometimes you have something in the way, and that thing is love. It's not in the way, it's just missing. Love starts with you. I learned from this very powerful woman who is in my life now. She is the example. She gives what she wants. So she wanted love, so she gave tremendous amounts of love, and it returned to her. If you don't love yourself, start there. Start to love yourself. And once you love yourself, then you can spread it out and give that love, and then it's going to come back. It's cyclical. It comes back and forth. It's a wave. It comes at you. And remember, when you meet someone that vaguely reminds you of yourself, which means another human being, treat them with love, honor, and respect. Till next time, love you all. Peace.